We are going to discuss The Voice of the Rain today. This is a very important poem, it is a part of your syllabus. The first thing that I want you to tell me is the other things that come to your mind when you read the title of the poem, The Voice of the Rain. है ना? The Voice of the Rain. What are the things that come to your mind when you read this title? We've done this exercise in class as well, so this is a quick revision session. The answers which you gave me in class were things like you think that this poem is going to be about rainfall, the mood that changes when it rains, and the sounds that accompany rain. For example, the pitter patter sound, the soft falling sound of rain, or maybe it could be about the storm, something like that. Or you told me that this could be a poem in which the rain is talking to us, right? So these are the things which you told me, which were very, very good answers, all correct answers. So yes, this title helps us anticipate what's going to come. So we know that this poem is going to be about rain. The rain might have a voice in this rain, right? The rain might be personified, right? So this is a good point of entry into the poem. So let us begin. Who is the poet? The poet is Walt Whitman. You might have heard of him. He's a very, very important, very famous American poet. Walt Whitman. Very important poet. Okay? Remember the spelling. Whitman. Whitman. W-H. Okay? Let us start reading. The first sentence goes, "And who art thou?" said I to the soft falling shower. I. The I here is, of course, who? The poet, right? So the poet or the speaker, he is asking who? The soft falling shower. This means that the poet is talking to the soft falling shower, right? There's a conversation happening. What is a shower? The shower here means rain. And soft falling means that the rain is falling very slowly. It is falling softly. It is not a thunderstorm, right? It is just a shower, just a drizzle. Yeah? So, what does I, the poet, ask the shower, the rain? He asks, "And who art thou?" He asks the rain, "And who art thou?" Who art thou is who are you, right? Who are you? I will write this along with the text. Who are you? Okay. This is a kind of language which is no longer used. This language has become outdated. English has changed over centuries, and this language has changed into the language that we speak today. So this language would seem very Shakespearean to you. But why do you think that Walt Whitman has used this kind of language? One reason could be that he wants to address the poem, the rain with respect. So he says thou. He addresses the rain with thou and not you, because thou is the term of endearment, of respect, right? And he perhaps uses this form of language to show that rain is something which is not very ordinary. You see it every day, it seems commonplace, but it is extraordinary in its beauty, right? It is wonderful. It elevates the mood, it changes everything, which is why rain is something which should be revered, it should be praised. It amazes him. Perhaps that is why the poet Walt Whitman, uses such elevated language, such special kind of language to show that rain itself is special. Okay, so the poem begins with the poet asking the rain, "And who art thou?" And who are you? The poet asks the rain, "Who are you?" The second line goes, "Which, strange to tell, gave me an answer as here translated." So the poet is saying that it is strange to tell. बताने में अजीब है. क्या बताने में अजीब है? That the rain gave me an answer. Which gave me an answer means which here is referring to the soft falling shower, the rain. So the rain gave the poet an answer, and this is very, very strange. This is strange because the rain is talking to the poet, right? Because rain is not something which is human, rain is not a living thing, right? But here it is speaking to the poet. The rain is answering a question that the poet asked. This is why it is very, very strange. It is odd. Strange means odd. As here translated. Translation. Translation is to change one language from another. There are two words. Let me write both of them down. Transform and translate. They are two very similar words. So if I transform, if I change one language into another language, that becomes translate, right? Both of them are words that symbolize change. Transform, you could transform anything. You could transform an object, you could transform a person, but translate is a word that is used specially for language. So if you convert text from one language to the another or speech from one language to another, that would mean translate. एक भाषा से दूसरी भाषा में अनुवाद करने को कहते हैं translate. Translation is अनुवाद करना. Okay, why do you think that the poet has to translate? This is because the rain talks in sounds, है ना? I want you to notice the word which is written here, voice, right? When we talk about rain, we usually use the word sound, the sound of the rain, right? Because the rain does not usually have a voice, it does not use speech, है ना? But here it has a voice, it is not a sound, which means it is something which is meaningful, which is something which is related to language, right? Rain has a language here. So here the poet is translating the sound of the rain into voice of the rain. जो rain की आवाज़ें हैं उसको poet translate करके भाषा में हमारे सामने रख रहे हैं. Poet है, who is the poet? Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman is the poet. So the poet has translated what the rain told him, and here the rain goes on to say whatever it has to say. Let us read the poem and see what rain has to say. I am the poem of the earth, said the voice of the rain. So, voice of the rain. What did voice of the rain say? The voice of the rain said, I am the poem of the earth. मैं इस धरती की कविता हूँ. I am the poem of the earth. Quickly tell me, which is the literary device or the poetic device used here? There's a comparison drawn here, right? Right? Can you see as or as soon as calm as? There's no comparison drawn with the words as, right? So here the poetic device used is a metaphor. Metaphor. It's a metaphor, right? The comparison is drawn between rain and poetry, poem of the earth. I am the poem. I am the poem. मैं एक कविता हूँ इस धरती की. Said voice of the rain. The voice of the rain said, I am the poem of the earth. Then what else does it say? Eternal I rise. Eternal. Eternal means forever. हमेशा से. Eternal means forever. Eternal I rise means हमेशा से मैं उठती हूँ. मैं हमेशा से ही उठती हूँ. हमेशा. Always. Forever. Eternal I rise, impalpable, out of the land and the bottomless sea. I want you to recall the water cycle that you've read in your science lectures. How does rain begin? Rain begins as water on land and in the sea, right? It rises as vapors, है ना? भाप बनकर ऊपर उठता है पानी. And when it reaches the sky, it changes. Which is the word I just told you for change? It transforms. It transforms into water and becomes clouds, right? And when clouds get heavy, जब बादल भारी हो जाते हैं, then the water comes down as rain. It starts raining, है ना? और जहाँ से पानी आता है वहाँ पर पानी वापस चला जाता है, right? This is the water cycle. So the poem is explaining its origin here. Its origin is the land and the bottomless sea. Eternal I rise. I have always risen. I have always risen, I am still rising, and I shall always rise. This is what the rain is trying to say. I am forever, I am permanent. Eternal I rise, impalpable. Impalpable is something which cannot be touched. Which cannot be touched, impalpable. A very important synonym for impalpable is intangible. Intangible means the same as impalpable. Intangible is also something which cannot be touched, right? So the rain says that when it rises, when it starts, when it originates, it is impalpable. But is rain actually impalpable? You can see the rain, right? You can see the water falling, right? Then why does it say that it is impalpable? It says that it is impalpable, it cannot be touched, it cannot be seen, because when it starts, it does not start as water, it starts as vapor. है ना? भाप तो नजर नहीं आती, which is why it says that I am impalpable. It is impalpable. It rises out of land and the bottomless sea. Are seas actually bottomless? Do seas not have a bottom? Is this actually possible? Seas do have a bottom, right? There is a sea floor. It's not possible for seas to be floated around in midair, right? Seas do not float. Seas have a bottom. Oceans have a bottom. But the poet writes bottomless because he wants to point out the depth. They are so immense, so vast, so deep that it seems like the sea is in fact bottomless. It does not have a bottom. It is endless. Yeah? So the rain says that I am eternal. I have always risen out of land and the bottomless sea. And it is impalpable because it rises as vapors, and vapors are impalpable. Then it goes on to say, upward to heaven. Upward to heaven. The, the vapor then moves upwards. Upwards means in the direction which is over the sea, right? Above. It moves above to heaven. I want you to tell me why the poet has used heaven here and not an ordinary word like sky. Why did not Whitman say, I rise upward to the sky? है ना? This is an important change. This is an important use of word, and one reason that I can come up with is because he wants to say that rain is something which is magical, it is sacred, right? It is something which is pure, and that is why he has used a word which is associated with religion. He wants to point out the beauty, the sacredness, the purity of rain, which is why it says that it moves upward to heaven. Whence, whence means where, vaguely formed, altogether changed, and yet the same I descend. Whence, vaguely formed. Vaguely. Vaguely is something which is not defined, which is unclear. Aspasht is the word that you would use in Hindi. Vaguely, unclear, vaguely formed. So, what is vaguely formed? He's talking about clouds here. Clouds are vaguely formed. Badal vaguely formed hote hain. Why vaguely formed? Because they do not have a clear outline, right? When you look up into the sky, you see clouds. Can you notice any definite shape? Are clouds triangular or rectangular or square? No, right? They do not have an actual shape. They're undefined. They're unclear. है ना? उनका कोई रूप नहीं, उनका कोई ऐसा शेप नहीं होता है which you can discern. ऐसे ज्योमेट्री तो फॉलो नहीं करते ना वो लोग clouds. तो इसीलिए the poet has written vaguely because the outline is not clear. So the clouds formed are vague. They're unclear. They're undefined. They do not have a defined outline. Altogether changed and yet the same. Yeah, this is a contrast. Altogether changed means everything has changed and yet the same. But फिर भी वही same है. How is this possible? How can things change and yet remain the same? Do you understand what the poet is trying to say? He is trying to say that the rain which rises as vapors reaches the sky where it becomes clouds, and to form clouds it has to first change into water, right? Vapor changes into water. भाप बदल जाती है पानी में बादल बनाने के लिए, है ना? इसीलिए the poet is saying altogether changed. Why? Because the rain, the vapor has changed into water. This is the change. but it's still the same and yet the same. Why? Because it's still the same because it's still water, right? It's H2O. Whether in the form of vapor or in the form of water, it's still H2O. It's still the same thing. The element is the same, right? Therefore, the poet is saying everything has changed, but it's still the same. Next, what does the voice of the rain say? I descend to lave the droughts, atomies, dust layers of the globe. I descend. What does descend mean? Descent means to move down, to fall down. Utarna ya girna, that is descent. So the rain is now talking about falling down. So it first told how it originates. है ना? It talks about how it rises. Then it talks about where it goes, upwards into the sky. And now the rain is telling us what happens next. It says that I descend, I come down, I fall down. Where? On the earth. To do what? To lave the droughts. What is lave? Lave is to add water to something, to wash something, to bathe something. Basically, dhona is the word you would use in Hindi. So it says, I come down, I descend to lave the droughts. मैं धो देती हूँ किसको? Droughts को. Droughts. What are droughts? Droughts are the places, are the regions where there is extreme aridity, there is dryness. जहाँ पे बिल्कुल सूखा पड़ा होता है. That is an area that experiences droughts. So it says that when I come down, when I descend, I wash away droughts. Droughts खत्म हो जाते हैं. I finish droughts. I end droughts. सूखा खत्म हो जाता है when it rains. ठीक है? It adds water to areas which are dry, which have remained dry for a very long time, and atomies. Atomies means very very small particles, small bits, specks. Yeah, sukshma kan. Yeah, atomies. It comes from the word atom, right? You know, atom is very very small. It's tiny. It cannot be seen by your eyes. आंखों से atoms को नहीं देख सकते है ना? So he's talking about very small parts, very small bits, and he's basically talking about the dust here. Dust layers of the globe. Where is maximum dust found? It is found in deserts, right? So the rain is saying that when I come down, I wash away droughts, I wash away dust, and I wash away deserts of the globe. Yeah, dust layers of the globe. It washes it away. Deserts become greener. They get more vegetation. Droughts end, and dust vanishes. This is what happens when it rains. And all that in them without me were seeds only, latent, unborn. So the rain is now saying that wherever I fall, whichever land that I fall upon, they had buried inside them seeds. जो land है, जो धरती है, उसके अंदर seeds गड़ी हुई थी, है ना? Latent. Latent means hidden. I'll write this down for you. Latent is hidden. And opposite of latent is manifest. Manifest is the opposite. This is the antonym of latent, manifest. So these seeds which are buried inside the earth, which are hidden inside the earth in these deserts, in these drought prone areas, these seeds which were latent, which were hidden, which were unborn, they now become plants. They germinate. These plants are able to grow because it rains. So rain brings life, rain brings beauty, rain brings growth, vegetation. Rain nourishes the areas where it falls. Okay. And forever, which is the word which is similar to forever. In this poem, we've already read a word which is similar to forever, which means almost the same as forever. Can you recall? Eternal. Remember? Eternal I rise. That is forever. I will write it again. Eternal. And forever, eternally, by day and night, I give back life to my own origin. Such a beautiful line, right? The rain says that I have always risen, forever by day and night. Is there a time for rain to fall? No, right? Whether it's day, whether it's night, whether you are there to see it or not there to see it, rain will fall. It will always fall. It has always fallen, right? And when it falls, the rain says, I give back life to my own origin. What is the origin? Origin is the starting point. Origin is the starting point, the source. जहाँ से उत्पत्ति होती है किसी चीज़ की, that is the origin, right? So what is the origin? We've read what the origin of the rain is. The origin is the land and the bottomless sea, right? Right? It rises as vapors, impalpable, out of the land and the bottomless sea. So this is the origin. The land and the sea are the origins of rain. So why does the rain say that it gives back life? We've already discussed this. The poet says, sorry, the voice of the rain says that it gives back life because it causes seeds to germinate. It causes vegetation to grow. And only where there is vegetation is human life possible, is animal life possible. All other things come from the natural surroundings, right? From the nature, right? If there is no nature, there would be no oxygen, there would be no life on earth. So this is why the rain says that I give life. And in fact, it says I give back life to my own origin. Because the rain falls. Where does it fall? It falls on land and the sea, right? It falls on the earth, and the earth contains the land and the sea, right? So it gives back life to my own origin. जहाँ से शुरू होती है बारिश, वहीं पर वो पानी देती है, वहीं पर वो जिंदगी देती है, क्योंकि वहीं पर पौधे पनपते हैं, वहीं पे vegetation grow होती है, and then life can flourish, right? I hope this makes sense. So the rain says, I give back life to my own origin and make pure and beautified. Purified and beautified. Why? Because the rain washes away droughts, it washes away dust layers, it cleans everything, it beautifies things. Why? Because everything becomes green, everything becomes beautiful, right? The dust goes away, everything becomes sparkling clean, everything is shiny, right? And everything looks very, very pretty. And what happens next? The next two lines, the last two lines are written in brackets. I want you to notice this, right? It's written in bracket. The poem that we've already read, that is written in the conventional form of a poem, right? But the last two sentences are in brackets. Let us read these sentences, then we'll try to understand why they're in brackets, okay? For song, okay. Right away we know that the subject has changed. पहले जो poet थे वो बात कर रहे थे about rain, but now the poet is talking about a song. Let us continue reading. For song, issuing from its birthplace after fulfillment, wandering, wrecked or unwrecked, duly with love returns. Now the poet says, who's the poet? Walt Whitman, right? The poet Walt Whitman says, for song, issuing from its birthplace. Issuing means, issue means to start, to emerge, कहीं से निकलना, right? Issuing. So here the poet is trying to say that whenever a song is born, what is the birthplace of a song? First tell me that. A song or a poem or music, what is the birthplace? The birthplace is the poet, right? The composer, right? The poet or the soul of the poet is the issuing place, its birthplace. Issuing from its birthplace, the song starts from its birthplace after fulfillment, wandering. After fulfillment means after completion. After the song has been finished or completed by the poem, by the poet, it starts traveling. It starts wandering. What is wandering? Wandering is traveling aimlessly. It's traveling without an aim. Bhatakna, basically. Ghumna, bhatakna. So, does a song actually wander? Can a song wander? क्या कोई गाना घूम सकता है? A song is not a person, right? A song is not a person. But here the poet has used the word wandering for it. So how does a song or a poem wander? A song can wander because it is heard by a lot of people. A lot of people hear it, and then other people would hear it. The song travels, right? The poet sings his song or her song, and then when listeners hear it and then share it with other people, the song reaches new places, other people listen to it, and it grows and grows, and it travels to new lands, and new people hear it and appreciate it. So this is what the poet means, that a song starts from its birthplace. Its birthplace is the poet. Poet is the birthplace. The soul of the poet is the birthplace of a song. And after the poet completes the song, completes the poem starts wandering. Wandering why? Because when the poet speaks of the song, when the poet recites his poem, then other people hear it, and even more people hear it, and when it's shared amongst a lot of people, it starts wandering, starts traveling, it reaches a lot many places, right? Rect or unrect. Rect or unrect. Notice the apostrophes. Can you notice the apostrophes? Apostrophes are used to shorten a word. Here the actual word is reckoned or unreckoned. Let me write this down. RECK or unreckoned. Right. These are the actual words. Rect or unrect. Right? Reckoned or unreckoned. Rect means to notice and unreckoned means to not notice. Right? So whether it is noticed or whether it is not noticed. Right? Duly with love returns. Okay. So we know that these two lines are in brackets because here the poet is not talking about the rain. He is talking about a song. But why would the poet suddenly change the subject matter? The thing is, the subject matter is not actually the same. Can you tell me a word from the poem which means something like a song? A word similar to a song which we've already read in the poem. Poem, right? The rain says, I am the poem of the earth, right? So, there is a comparison or a similarity drawn between the rain, because I am the poem of the rain is something which the rain says, and the poem of the earth is something which the rain says. The voice of the rain says that it is a poem. So, there's a comparison drawn between the rain and the song. So, the poet tells us the characteristics of a song. The song begins from its birthplace, which is the poet, and after it is completed, it then starts traveling when other people hear it. And the song also returns. The song returns how? It returns with love of the listeners. Other people who've heard the song, they come to the poet and fill him with love. They give recognition to it and thank the poet for the wonderful thing that he has created, right? And regged or unregged means whether it is noticed or not noticed. So the poet is trying to say whether people listen to this song or not, whether people acknowledge it or not, right? It still fills the poet with love, because writing poetry in itself is a satisfying thing, right? Writing poetry nourishes the soul of the poet, right? It brings joy to the poet. So the similarity drawn is that, like the rain starts from its origin. Origin is the land and the bottomless sea. It transforms from vapors into clouds and falls back as rain, and it brings life. It gives life to its point of origin, right? Its origin, water and the sea and the ocean, right? So it says that, like the rain which returns to its point of origin, जैसे कि रेन है, जैसे कि बारिश है, वो जहाँ से निकलती है वहीं पर वापस आ जाती है, वहीं पर पानी देती है ना? और लाइफ देती है, ज़िंदगी दे देती है, क्योंकि लाइफ, बिकॉज वाटर इज एसेंशियल फॉर लाइफ. नो लाइफ इज पॉसिबल विदाउट वाटर, राइट? सो सिमिलरली a song is essential, is very very important for human life. Like the rain, it also starts from its point of origin, from its source, and returns to its point of origin, which is the poet. The song returns to the poet having fulfilled the listeners. The song brings joy to the listeners, right? Which is why the listeners give love to the poet. Duly with love returns means that the song returns to the poet with love of the listeners, because the listeners have also been filled with joy. They also find beauty in the song that the poet has written, right? But the poet is also trying to say that whether the rain is noticed or not noticed, whether you see the rain or not, it still brings life, right? चाहे आप देखो कि बारिश हो रही है या नहीं, वो तो पानी लाएगी, है ना? और उस पानी से पेड़ पौधे ग्रो होंगे, है ना? And that would bring life, that would bring vegetation, that would beautify and purify the world around us, right? So similarly, even if people do not acknowledge a song, even if they do not notice a song, it still brings life to its point of origin, to the poet. Why? Because the act of writing poetry is itself so satisfying, it is so joyful that it fills the person who writes it with joy, right? I hope this poem became easier for you now. I hope you can understand this poem better. And after this class, I want you to read this poem again and write down the meanings of the words that you find to be difficult, right? And if you have any doubts, you can always ask me. Okay, I'm going to end the lecture now. Thank you, class.